Good afternoon. It is a wonderful Friday afternoon for you. I'm student meteorologist Ian Cassette.
And I'm student meteorologist Casey Cloud. Thanks for joining us here. A great Friday evening. Not too many showers around today.
No.
Just a few isolated showers, but none here in the metro. A nice day, nice conditions here on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fairly sunny day, though it's looking like this weekend might have a little bit more moisture as we have an area of developing over Florida with some circulation that might be bringing a better chance for rain into this weekend and early next week.
Yeah, we're talking about an area just west of Lake Okeechobee in South Florida, a center of circulation and a few showers around it, though most of those are not even anywhere close to the center, more on the south and western sides. It's really not looking like it's going to get its act together and be too serious of a threat anywhere in the United States.
But yeah, National Hurricane Center will be monitoring this for any development, but right now, not looking too promising. But what we do know for sure is we have a cold front on top of us, a stationary front with this tropical disturbance potentially that will be increasing our moisture, so bringing us a better chance for rain. So unfortunately for you guys that were happy with no rain today, you might be seeing a lot more of that next week and this weekend.
Yeah, make sure you bring your umbrella if you're going out around our area. That's just a good tip. If you need to go somewhere where you're not allowed to bring an umbrella, bring a poncho. That's a good word of advice as well. But right now, we'll go ahead and take a look at the overview of the weather situation with John.
Thank you, guys. Here's that low pressure center that they were mentioning there at the desk, starting to push off of the Everglades, pushing into the Naples area. This is going to slowly slide off towards the west into the Gulf of Mexico over the next couple of days, and it's going to really sandwich us in between this cold front and this low pressure system. It's going to bring in a lot of moisture, especially into early parts of next week. So we're going to look for an increase in rain chances through then. And this weekend, I think we're going to make out with Saturday okay. Sunday, a little bit more trivial, a little bit harder to forecast, but those rain chances will be going up, especially for Monday into Tuesday, and then a cool down possibly if that cool front pushes through the area as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday, and then possibly into lower 80s by the end of next week. So we're going to take it back over to the desk, guys, with a look at some space weather.
That's right, John. Thanks so much. We're talking about a second wave of solar energy that started to impact the Earth earlier today.
Yeah, we have, this is the second round of solar flares that is impacting Earth. Now, with this solar flare that's going to be impacting us tonight, they're not expecting the coronal mass ejection, which is what really, if this hits Earth, will cause major issues for the electrical grid, but there is not going to be a major effect with this. However, what they're expecting is a good chance for the aurora borealis to be seen in areas in northern United States, especially in the northwest.
Yeah, we're talking about areas like Washington State, Oregon, also around the Great Lakes area, state of Michigan, up toward areas like New England, so they might have an interesting sight to see tonight if they go outside their area.
Yeah, it's definitely a sight to see for them. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see it here, but hopefully they'll be able to get good pictures of that there. But for now, we're going to take it to Paxton with the local.
Why, thank you, Ian and Casey. Today has been a high of 95 degrees, so we are getting back up there in those high temperatures, those high to mid-90s. So we're definitely feeling the heat and feeling this humidity that we have been experiencing for our typical summer weather, as you can all see with the pop-up showers we've been having too due to the sea breeze. Currently, it is 94 degrees, mostly cloudy, with a dew point of 71. So we had those hot and muggy temperatures going on, but those clouds, they will be lingering for a little bit longer tonight, but they will be dissipating, moving on onward into tomorrow. Current temperatures is 94 in Tallahassee, 91 in St. Mark, so we are in the low to mid 90s across the area. So we all know that it is hot. But going into next week, we will be having some relief in our area, but we'll get to that in a little later. Current winds are they're kind of calm, 8 miles per hour. They are coming from the south due to that stationary front to the north of us. So it's just bringing in all those winds below it, making it southerly. So we are feeling a little bit of that breeze, and that's also going to become more calm as the night goes on. Satellite radar is showing that we do have some storms around the area, specifically in southern Florida, where we do have this tropical disturbance, and that's going to just move across southern Florida and into the Gulf of Mexico, bringing in a lot of rain and moisture, specifically to our area, mostly around Sunday, early Sunday, late Saturday night. So our rain chances are going to be increasing significantly throughout the weekend and into early next week. We did have a cold front that is in our area, but it's now stationary going into Saturday morning tonight at midnight. And this is going to bring in just a little bit of moisture, but not so much. Most of our moisture is going to be coming from sea breeze in that typical summer-like pattern that we've been experiencing for these past several months. Going on more into Saturday, this front barely moves, and the rain chances are still there, but there's not as much rain associated with this front as other typical fronts. So again, that's due to sea breeze when we be experiencing some rain. And going on into Sunday morning, Saturday night, the front is more over our area, and that tropical disturbance has reached us, and that's bringing in the Gulf moisture into our area, increasing our rain chances by a lot. So Sunday is a good idea to bring your umbrellas and to bring your ponchos. For tonight, we are going to have a temperature of 73 degrees. It's going to be mild. It's going to be muggy, but it's going to be mostly clear because those clouds will go away. But again, it's just the typical temperatures we experience at nighttime. For tomorrow, it is going to be a high 93. It's going to be sunny and warm. We do have that 40% chance of rain. And going on into the 7-day, we could see a 10-degree difference later into next week. But for now, we're going to hand this on over to Tom for more information.
Hey everybody, let's take a bigger look, more on a scale of the southeast of the United States. We see a lot of moisture associated with that stationary front we're talking about, and a lot of moisture down in South Florida associated with that tropical wave that's coming through here. Not much to worry about. And there's a little bit drier air coming in through the northern part of Florida, Tallahassee Panhandle, fed from right over here, this dry orange over there. So we're going to take a closer look with the satellite and radar mixed imagery. We see not too many clouds around the Tallahassee region, but plenty of clouds surrounding us. And that's the interesting story for today, because today we had very nice weather in Florida. We see here late afternoon, about 4 or 5 o'clock, we see those sea breeze thunderstorms pop up like crazy into Texas because of that sea breeze coming off of the Gulf of Mexico there. It's always nice to see a good sea breeze from meteorologists. We love those. 94 degrees right now at 6 o'clock, so it's still pretty warm out there. It's not going to cool down too fast for tonight because that stationary front isn't really, it's not a cold front. It's stationary. It's not moving. It's not going to bring that cold air as far down south as some of you wish it would, pushing into fall here. Dry dew points or relative humidity associated with the dew point, 48% relative humidity in Tallahassee today. So it's pretty dry out there, but it is very moist down in South Florida and through Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas associated with that front coming off of the northwest there. Current winds coming out of here. There's not really much of a story with there. I didn't mean to put that graphic in there, just slipped in there. But let's take a look at those temperatures for the next few days here. So for tonight, we're going to see those temperatures dip down into 72 for Saturday morning, 8 a.m. So it's getting pretty low into those low 70s. We're not going to see quite into the 60s for a few more months here. But then again, tomorrow, right back up to 95. It's a little bit cooler. You can see this cold front right there that just passed through, and it's bringing those cooler temperatures into the south. We're seeing 70s and even 60s into Tennessee and Kentucky there. And then for tomorrow night, we're going to see, again, 72 again, very similar temperatures, and that cold front is still sitting right there with those cooler temperatures pushing into the south. But for tonight, again, we're going to see 73 in Tallahassee, 77 in Key West, Miami. It's going to stay a little bit warmer down there. And for tomorrow, we're going to see, again, still those mid-90s for the Tallahassee region. And we're going to pass it over to Ian and Casey again for some more interesting facts.
Thanks, Tom. We're talking about that cold front that has pushed its way across the U.S., bringing some cooler temperatures for areas, and especially in the Northeast.
That's right, we're talking about areas around Boston and New York City. The conditions in those areas and temperatures are a little bit cooler, making it a little bit of relief from a warm summer in those communities, making the temperatures nicer, more enticing to go outside. around the northeast region.
Yeah, definitely cooler temperatures. And back here in the southeast, we're dealing with not as cool, but they're looking at once this stationary front starts to move around later in the week, seeing temperatures in the 80s and 70s with lows especially in the 60s and 50s. Here we'll probably stick in the 80s, but still it's welcoming conditions for what we've been dealing with.
Yeah, bringing in nicer conditions to our area. There's also some cooler conditions across our nation, and we'll go ahead and look at that here. We see temperatures right now only in the 50s in the north central part of the nation, 53 in Minneapolis, 53 in Kansas City as well. Really nice conditions in the north central, even 46 right now in Denver, a bit on the cool side of those areas. But you can see there's a big temperature contrast between areas around Phoenix and Denver. 104 down toward Phoenix, but only 46 in Denver right now. Much cooler, of course, and we see even Dallas a little on the cool side, 66 degrees as well. Now, the satellite and radar does show a lot of activity in terms of the way of showers in North Texas, also getting up toward areas around northern Missouri, now moving in toward eastern parts of Wisconsin and western parts of Michigan. We're talking about areas around Grand Rapids getting into some rain shower activity. Now in the southeast, much less in the way of activity. We see only a few scattered showers here around our area, but that's going to change as we do have some moisture coming from the northwest from a front that is going to move in and bring us a little bit of cooler conditions and wetter conditions as well. Water vapor does show a lot of moisture in the upper levels of the atmosphere. That's indicated in our green color. We do see areas in northern Mississippi, northern Alabama especially, and that's going to try to make its way into our area and bring a little bit more moisture and enhance those rain chances as we get into later this weekend and early next week. At least there will be a little bit of rain around. That'll help to cool things off at least a little bit around our area. Also around the southeast in general. Much cooler conditions as we get into areas like Atlanta, at least a little bit anyway. We see that there are some watches and warnings in effect in north central Minneapolis. This is a frost advisory that is in effect for those areas because of very cool weather conditions. There's also been some continuous flooding in the southwestern part of our nation down toward areas like El Paso, and we'll take a closer look at that in fact. And as we do see that there is a flash flood warning in effect right now in this darker red color. That's for Carlsbad, New Mexico. They've seen some heavy rainfall in the last little bit there, causing some flooding in those communities. The lighter green, a flash flood watch does include areas around El Paso. Now, airport delays, we did have a little bit of a delay a little bit earlier in Atlanta, but that since has cleared out, so that's some good news for those areas. That was a 23-minute delay, in fact, but that cleared away. We see Futurecast radar does show there is a little bit of rain that will try to make its way down toward our area. We see that tomorrow, just a few scattered showers, but as we get into Sunday, we see a little bit of lingering moisture around our area. That's something to contend with. Also getting into southwest and south central Georgia. Now tonight's forecast does show 61 in Dallas, but down toward our area, 73, a little bit warmer. Cool conditions in the northwest trying to gradually make their way toward our area. And tomorrow, 94 degrees, a pretty nice day before cooler and rainier conditions do come. We'll keep an eye on this forecast very closely here around our area, but right now we'll go ahead and take it over to Kristen with your second local forecast.
Hi, so looking over at the local forecast today, 95 degrees, higher than the average temperature that we usually see, and you can definitely feel it. The humidity is definitely up there. Looking at the current temperatures right now, we have 94 degrees in Tallahassee, really hot, going up into northern Georgia, also 95 in Bainbridge, 93 in Thomasville, 92 in Valdosta. Those temperatures still in the mid to low 90s as we move on into the afternoon. And look at that dew point. As we see 68 degrees in Perry, they're the lucky ones, but looking over the central Big Bend region, 71 in Tallahassee, 76 in Monticello. Usually 70s is going to give you that muggy, really don't want to be outside kind of feeling. And the satellite tells a story, a lot of moisture given by those clouds moving into the area. That's going to bring a lot of moisture, a lot of that humidity we were talking about. A bigger view at the radar, we have this southern disturbance down towards the Gulf over under Florida and Miami, really bringing on some precipitation to Miami and Key West down south. And I kind of want to highlight something out here towards our west.
I know it's not our region, but if you lived in Florida, you know about this right here. In New Orleans and in Texas, we have that sea breeze coming into effect. Luckily today, we don't get much of that in Florida, but we're definitely used to it down here. But looking into our future, we have that cold front that's gonna kind of sit right on top of Florida coming into Saturday, and it's gonna give our precipitation a little high, but not too much to really cause us some concern. And as that brings in, that water is gonna kind of stay off to our west, Apalachicola, Panama City kind of area. But as that mess that's in Miami right now kind of moves its way up into our area, we're gonna see a lot of rain in North Florida. Gainesville, Jacksonville, Tallahassee is really gonna be affected by this tropical disturbance down in South Florida right now. That should be making its way towards us on Sunday. And as we go on, for those boating enthusiasts out there on Saturday, winds 5 to 10 knots, waves not too choppy, 1 feet. So there's gonna be a slight chop once you get into Sunday. However, the storm's coming in from that south region. Tonight though, 73 degrees. We're gonna see mostly clear skies. The rain before 2 a.m. It shouldn't be too severe, although there is a chance of the severe pop-up. Tomorrow's forecast, 93. Kind of today, we have a chance for some thunderstorms. And going into the week ahead, we have those temperatures in the 90s until we get into next week where we're dropping into the 80s. That was the temperature for next week. Now look back at yesterday with Paxton and Tom at the desk.
All right, congratulations to Christian. That was his first time on the show. Thanks for joining us, buddy. But we got some weather history for you today, right, Paxton?
We do. So, yesterday was the peak day for hurricane season, and today is actually the anniversary of Hurricane Frederick, which was a Category 4 that was September 12, 1979.
Yeah, September 12th, 1979. It was Category 4 in the Gulf of Mexico, and it happened to make landfall in Mobile, Alabama, right in the bay.
It sure did. But for us, we haven't had a hurricane in Florida in quite some time, almost a decade, which is good for us.
Yeah, and it's kind of notable that it hit Mobile Bay because it's a bay, and when the storm surge comes in, it makes that very climactic for the waters to get very concentrated in there. But now I'm going to take it out back to the wall with y'all, and we're going to take a look around Florida. So we see, actually strange enough, that the temperatures in Tallahassee are warmer than in Miami for today, and that's because of all those clouds and thunderstorms sitting down there off of the coast of South Florida that are bringing that moisture and that cooler, cloudy temperatures for us there. While it stayed relatively sunny in northern Florida for today, those dew points still in the 70s, so we haven't seen fall quite come yet because we notice when fall comes around, those dew points stay into the 60s and don't really get much into the 70s. But for now, we've got plenty of moisture to feed those afternoon thunderstorms. We might see a few more of this year. Current heat index, 102 in Tallahassee because of that combination of moisture and sunshine for you today, while the south part of Florida is a little bit cooler, quite to much extent. See, we see that massive amount of moisture down here in the southeast, not too much in the Tallahassee region, and again, some more in Louisiana and further into Texas that cause those sea breeze thunderstorms for today. But let's take a look at the clouds. So we've got plenty of high cold clouds here. That means there's some thunderstorm action there. You can see that reflected in the radar. And in Tallahassee, we had a mixture of like fair weather cumulus clouds and really high cirrus clouds. If you took a look out today, it was a very nice sky. I enjoyed it very much myself to see some puffy summertime clouds and some cirrus clouds above. And right here, normally when we see not much going on in the radar, we just get noise. But actually, this is mostly those fair weather cumulus clouds, those nice little white puffy marshmallow clouds. This is actually getting picked up by the radar. And we could see a sea breeze front coming right off of here, off of Pensacola and Apalachicola, that fortunately did not spike up too much dangerous thunderstorms for today like it has been this past week. Jacksonville, much of the same, fair weather cumulus clouds and not much of rain. And down south, we have a center of circulation right about here today that brought some energy into the area that brings about all these thunderstorms, clouds, and plenty of rain for the south part of Florida, which is nice to see here. As we look at bigger picture things, we see those thunderstorms around South Florida. Clearing in the middle of the state, we got a little bit of thunderstorm moving off of the top of that little system there into the Ocala region here. So if you're in Ocala. Take a look out for the rest of the evening. You might see a few thunderstorms come your way. But for tonight, 73 Tallahassee, 76 Tampa, 77 in Miami. So nice increasing temperature as we go to the south like we normally see. But for tomorrow, much of the same. We might see a little bit more of those clouds than we did today, just because of this low pressure system kind of moving our way slightly, bringing some more of that Gulf moisture into our area compared to today. And Jacksonville's going to see a little bit more of that sunshine just because they're going to get some more of the sea breeze pushing, and it might push those clouds a little further inland than we would normally expect. But we're going to pass it off here to Shane to take a look at our tropics.
Thanks very much, Tom. Yes, we are right at the peak of hurricane season, which was in fact 2 days ago, and we have got several tropical systems of interest, of course. So what does the tropics usually do during this time of the year? Peak of hurricane season, to be sure. Well, we usually see storms come off the coast of Africa and then either head into the Gulf of Mexico or veer their way up here into the North Atlantic. Remember that we might be seeing that again in just a matter of moments. So how many storms have we had this year? Well, from Arthur to Dolly, we've seen 4, and Edward is active right now in the Atlantic Ocean, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. But for starters, let's take a look in the Eastern Pacific, where Tropical Storm Odile is swirling up a nice big center of circulation here, and it is expected to strengthen to Category 1 hurricane strength. Now, swooping over into the Atlantic Ocean, pardon the flickery satellite imagery, they're only taken every few hours out here, but we can get the gist of it from this picture. We see Edward starting to develop more defined circulation right now as it continues to intensify. It is scheduled to strengthen into a hurricane. So here's Edward's center of circulation right now, and its winds are currently at 45 miles per hour, putting it strictly within the boundary of a tropical storm, with gusts of up to 58 miles per hour and a pressure of 998 millibars. Generally, when the pressure is just shy of 1,000, that's really nothing to worry about. It's not super intense like those monsters from 10 years ago that had pressures down near 900 millibars. So what's Edward's path of choice? Well, by this time tomorrow, it should have moved further northeast and strengthened to a hurricane status as it moves into Monday morning. And then it's going to do just what we expect for this time of year, and clashing weather systems to its west and its east are going to push it not near land, but up to the northeast into the open waters of the North Atlantic, where it shouldn't be affecting anyone here in the U.S. So here's Edward once again circulating in the center of the Atlantic. And now we're going to turn our gaze back towards Florida and focus in on that culprit down near Miami that's going to be responsible for bringing us all that moisture. There's that tropical wave, as it's known right now, and it is essentially a low pressure system, and it's not expected for any development into any tropical storm that would give it a name. But with its counterclockwise circulation, it's going to be pushing those winds and all that moisture it's bringing along with it right here into the Big Bend region. So let's take a look at satellite right now. And with the radar, we see it spinning away merrily on the southern tip of the Florida Peninsula. And again, we're going to see moisture early next week. Blame that tropical wave. So what is the temperature tonight in the tri-state area? 73 degrees in Tallahassee, 72 in Valdosta, pretty even across the board. And we're going to have one more hot day tomorrow before things get rainy and start to cool off with a high of 94 degrees in Tallahassee. Let's send it back to you guys at the desk for another story.
Thank you, Shane. So something we don't normally talk about in the United States is the tropical activity of the Eastern Pacific, right, Paxton?
That's very true. And right now, we actually have a tropical storm named Odile out on the western coast of Mexico. But it's not a threat for the U.S.
Yeah, so by tomorrow, it is expected to be of hurricane strength, and it'll dissipate by Monday evening, but it won't serve any real harm besides some big surf on the western coast of Mexico.
Pretty much. But the only thing that's going to impact the United States is on the southwestern side. That storm's going to bring in some moisture into that area, but it's much needed over there.
Yeah, and just a few days ago, Hurricane Norbert did this almost exactly the same thing, brought record amounts of rain to the desert southwest, and that was quite something to see. But yeah.
Yeah, and so, Ian, can you tell us about the weather in Florida?
You know what? The weather in Florida right now is nice for us, not so nice for the areas south of us. Had a lot of clouds early on. But looking at for tomorrow's forecast, you can see we're looking at 94 degrees for tomorrow. It's going to be a bit of a hot day, but there should be a fair amount of clouds with a good amount of moisture coming in this weekend. So 94 in Tallahassee, 94 up in Albany, 91 in Panama City. So a lot of 90s for most of the area. Currently outside, you can see 94 degrees. It's a hot day once again. It was very sunny, but you can notice the humidity was at 48%, which is pretty low. So 48% humidity means it's feeling a lot less sticky and muggy outside, which hopefully you noticed that so you can take advantage of that weather. So 94 outside with mostly cloudy conditions right now. Currently outside for the rest of the area, 92 in Monticello, 91 in St. Mark's, 95 up in Bainbridge. You can see 89 in Carabel. So a lot of warm temperatures for most of the area, but we will be cooling down as the night progresses. For the satellite and radar, you're going to notice a good amount of the clouds are pushing towards the southwest. We have a stationary front above us that is continuing to bring this trend of wind that is what is impacting our temperatures right now. So we don't have those winds coming off of the coast bringing us cooler temperatures. We have those warmer land breezes that are going to be keeping our temperatures up in the 90s. But this should be changing as the weather progresses throughout the weekend. Looking at the large scope of things around most of the area, you can see this is that system that they were talking about earlier in the tropics. Down here, it's starting to kind of push itself off to the Gulf, which will be making impact for us here with the moisture level in our area over this weekend and early on to next week, as this system pushing the Gulf, bringing a counterclockwise flow into our area, coupled with this cold, stationary front that has pushed itself into our area, making it a rather warm and muggy, wet weekend for us. So Saturday, starting out the day, we have a good chance for rain, about a 40% chance. And as we push on into Sunday, you see it doesn't really move a whole lot. But what happens is that system starts to move into the Gulf, bringing up that counterclockwise flow, and all this moisture is going to be increasing as we go on this weekend. So a good chance for rain this weekend, continuing into next week as we start out there. Now on the water for tonight, those protected waters are going to be smooth, but there is a slight chop in the storms as there's a potential for storms later on tonight. So not maybe the best weather for you out on the boating, but for tonight, 73 degrees with a chance of rain, about a 20% chance, mostly clear, but like I said, a best chance for rain before 2 a.m. Now the color run is going on tomorrow morning. It should be a rather nice day for you, 76 degrees early in the morning, a little bit on the muggy side, but rather nice for you. And as we go on to tomorrow's forecast, 93 degrees with a 40% chance of rain, a sunny afternoon, rather stormy, and the 7-day outlook looks like it's going to be raining early next week. 60% chance on Monday and Tuesday, but for the weekend, it's going to be okay. But we're going to send it back to the desk to finish off the show.
Thanks, Ian. I don't know about you, but it's getting to that sneezy season for me, and Paxton can tell you why.
Well, the peak of allergy season is September 19th, so we are almost there. So if you've been sneezing and coughing, you're not sick. It's probably allergies.
Yeah, so this season we're going to see a prolonged ragweed and mold growth for this fall.
And the fact that we're getting a lot of rainfall is making much more of these plants and their pollens into our air, making us sneeze a lot more.
Yeah, so the rain is kind of like a double-edged sword in a way, because as you may know, that when it rains, it takes those allergens out of the air, but it also feeds those plants and helps them grow more.
It does. And as you can see from our beautiful 7-day, we do have a 10-degree temperature drop going into the end of next week. So it's going to be nice out there. It's going to be a relief to what we're used to.
Yeah, but we're going to see those thunderstorms come back in at the end of this weekend, pushing into early next week.
Yes, but make sure to like us on Facebook.com/FSU Weather. Follow us on Twitter, FSU Weather. And be sure to watch us again tonight at 11 on livestream.com or on 4FSU.
All right, thank you for joining the show. As always, weekdays, 6 o'clock. We'd love to tell you all the stuff we know about weather.
Indeed, and make sure you guys have your umbrellas and rain boots for this weekend. I'm student meteorologist Paxton Fell.
And I'm meteorologist Tom Mazzetti. Have a nice night.